So today is D-Day in the WNBA. It is D-Day, and in my opinion, we have got a situation where we have now got players that are being cut that are legitimately good. Like, this isn't a situation where it's like, oh yeah, Marta Suarez got cut and she's not going to do anything. We've now got a situation where in the last 3 hours, I believe 3 players got cut. That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough.
Caitlin Clark's perfect teammate may have just become available, and if the Indiana Fever do not move fast, this could turn into one of the biggest missed chances of their season. Because this is not just another random player hitting the waiver wire. This is not some end-of-bench name that only hardcore fans care about. This is the exact type of player Caitlin Clark needs beside her, and that is why Stephanie White's reaction makes so much sense. Because when you understand what Indiana is missing and you look at the players who just became available, it almost feels too obvious. The Fever have the superstar. They have the attention. They have the sold-out crowds. They have the player every defense is already terrified of. But the question is simple. Are they actually building the right team around her? Because Caitlin Clark does not just need talent. She needs the right kind of talent. She needs players who can run with her, players who can catch the ball in traffic, players who can punish double teams, players who can defend multiple spots, players who can rebound, finish, and keep the floor open. And suddenly, on WNBA Cutdown Day, those exact types of players started becoming available. That is where this gets serious, because Indiana is no longer in a quiet rebuild. That ended the moment Caitlin Clark arrived. The Fever are now under a microscope. Every move matters. Every roster decision gets judged. And every missed opportunity becomes louder because everyone can see what Caitlin is capable of when the right pieces are around her.
That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. There are 3 power forwards that have been cut. There have been 3 power forwards. The GOAT got cut, but I will say this, Raven Johnson a better option. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but Raven Johnson a better option.
And right now, the waiver wire may have just handed Indiana a gift. The first name that should get their attention is Amy Okonkwo. She is strong, she is physical, she can rebound, she can score, and she gives Indiana something they badly need in the front court. A player who does not just stand around waiting for the offense to happen, but actually creates pressure through effort, size, and finishing. Last season, she showed real flashes. She was efficient, she was productive, and more importantly, she looked like the kind of player who could fit next to Caitlin Clark without needing the ball all the time.
Amy Okonkwo got cut by Dallas. Amy Okonkwo is a 6'2", 3-ish forward, and she's big, she's strong, she rebounds, and she shoots. Last season, she only played 8 games for the Wings, and it was her first stint in the W. She averaged 11 points per game. Did it on 50% shooting from the field, 90% from the line, and
that part matters because when you play with Caitlin, the ball is going to find you. The question is whether you can do something with it once it gets there. Can you finish through contact? Can you make the defense pay? Can you keep moving instead of watching? Okonkwo gives Indiana a stronger option in that exact role, and the contract side makes it even more interesting. If the Fever can get a useful forward on a low-cost deal, that is not just a good basketball move. That is smart roster building. That is how good teams create flexibility. That is how championship windows open faster than expected. But Okonkwo is only the first piece of this story, because Maddie Westbeld might be an even cleaner offensive fit beside Caitlin Clark.
She is. Can you imagine Damiris Dantas, but doesn't have that once in a season ability to go 4 or 5 from 3, and Dantas might have already used her once in a season, but better at every other aspect of basketball, and on a minimum contract for 3 more years. On a minimum for 3 more years. Let's not forget that. You don't have to pay her for another 3 seasons. Not only that, she is somebody that has played with Caitlin Clark on Team USA teams, as far as I'm aware. She also was in 2024 projected or initially.
Wes Beld gives Indiana something every Caitlin Clark team should want: spacing, size, and shooting. She is the kind of stretch forward who changes how a defense has to guard the floor. Think about what happens when Caitlin crosses half court. Defenders already panic. They pick her up high. They shade extra help toward her. They try to take away the logo threes. They try to cut off the passing lanes. But when you put a real shooting forward next to her, the defense has to make an impossible choice. Do you trap Caitlin and leave the shooter, or do you stay home and let Caitlin attack? That is the kind of pressure Indiana needs to create every night. Wes Beld also has another advantage. She already has familiarity with Caitlin from Team USA experience. That does not mean everything would be automatic, but it does mean there is already some basketball trust there. And trust matters when you are trying to build around a generational passer. Caitlin does not just throw normal passes. She throws passes before the defense even knows the window is open. So the players around her have to think fast. They have to be ready. They have to understand timing. Wes Beld fits that idea. She can space the floor, she can punish rotations, and she can make life easier for both Caitlin and Aaliyah Boston. Because if the defense has to respect the shooting, the lane opens. And if the lane opens, Indiana suddenly becomes much harder to guard. But even with Okonkwo's strength and Wes Beld's shooting, the biggest name in this entire situation might be Sika Cone.
I was watching them play when they were losing every game. And I was watching them like, obviously Paige was good. The next best player on the team, I'm like, man, Kayla Charles has something about her. She just has something about her. She plays hard, she's smart, she does all the little things. I'm like, she's good, she's real good. And I was like, pushing, I was like, man, she should be starting over Dijonay. And then out of nowhere, she gets cut. And it's like, what the fuck's going on here? People are like, oh no, they're going to cut her because they're going to bring her back. And suddenly, Golden State snap her up. And now suddenly Kayla Charles is making $600K a year at Golden State. She's been so effective.
This is where the Fever front office has to be paying attention, because Cone is not just another forward. She is the type of 3-4 hybrid Indiana does not really have enough of. And in today's WNBA, that player type is everything. You need size, you need movement, you need defensive versatility. You need someone who can switch, rebound, fight through contact, and still keep up with the pace of the game. Cone brings that edge. She is physical. She plays hard. She does the little things. And those little things matter when you are trying to win close games, because highlight plays are great. But championships are often decided by the ugly possessions, the box outs, the loose balls, the defensive rotations, the second effort plays that stop a team from getting one more shot. That is what Indiana needs around Caitlin Clark, not just another veteran name, not just another player who used to be part of a winning team years ago. They need players who can help right now. And that is why this situation feels so frustrating, because the Fever already have veteran voices. They already have players with experience. They already have people who understand the league. What they need now is athletic impact. They need players who can survive the speed Caitlin creates. They need players who do not slow the game down. They need players who make the defense pay for giving Caitlin too much attention. And Cone might be the best version of that available right now. Imagine her beside Aaliyah Boston. Suddenly, Indiana has more size, more physicality, more defensive cover, more energy. And Caitlin gets to play with a little more freedom because the team behind her can actually clean up mistakes and control the glass. That is how you protect a superstar. You do not protect Caitlin Clark by asking her to do everything. You protect her by building a roster that makes her strengths even more dangerous. And that is where the front office pressure comes in, because if Indiana lets these players slip away, someone else will not. That is how the WNBA works. One team hesitates, another team acts. And suddenly, the player you ignored becomes a problem on somebody else's roster. That is the nightmare scenario for the Fever. Imagine passing on a player like Cone, only to watch her become exactly what Indiana needed on a rival team. Imagine Caitlin drawing two defenders, kicking the ball out, and Indiana still not having enough players who can punish the rotation. Imagine the same roster problems showing up again, while the solution was sitting right there on the waiver wire. That is why this moment feels bigger than one transaction. This is about identity. Are the Fever still thinking like a rebuilding team? Or are they ready to act like a team with the most important young star in basketball? Because when Caitlin Clark is on your roster, the timeline changes. You do not get to move slowly forever. You do not get to hide behind patience every time a clear opportunity appears. At some point, you have to prove you're serious. And this is one of those moments. Indiana does not need to chase every available name, but they do need to chase the right fit. Okonkwo gives them strength and value. Westbeld gives them shooting and spacing. Cone gives them defensive versatility and toughness. All three make sense in different ways. But the bigger point is this. The perfect teammate for Caitlin Clark is not about finding one miracle player who fixes everything. It is about understanding the blueprint. Caitlin needs runners. She needs shooters. She needs defenders. She needs tough, smart, versatile players who can turn her gravity into easy points. And right now, those players are available. That is why Stephanie White's reaction hits so hard. Because any coach who understands roster construction can see the opportunity. This is not complicated. The Fever have the superstar. Now they need to give her the right help. And if Indiana lets this moment pass, fans will not forget it. Because the league is watching, the fans are waiting, and the rest of the WNBA would probably love nothing more than for Indiana to stay asleep while the perfect pieces disappear. So now it comes down to one question. Will the Fever make the move? Or will they watch Caitlin Clark's perfect teammate land somewhere else? Drop your pick in the comments. Should Indiana go after Sika Cone, Maddie Westbeld, or Amy Okonkwo? And if you are still watching, comment Clark's missing piece below.
Angel Reese, though. What I found most interesting about this list is where ESPN ranks their face of the league. Unfortunately for Angel Reese, the polish seems to be melting off the turd. ESPN has tried to convince us that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA. Not only is the matriarch of Me-Bounds the face of the league, according to the media, Angel Reese is the most dominant basketball player in the world.
Angel Reese just got hit with the kind of ESPN reality check that fans do not forget. For months, she was pushed as one of the biggest faces of the WNBA. The personality, the headline, the star who was supposed to help carry the league into a new era. But now, ESPN has put out a ranking that makes that entire story look very different.
In case you're wondering, Angel Reese, still not good from the field. 3 for 7, 10 points. I mean, good God almighty. Not good. By the way, Mystics defeated the Dream. Defeated the Dream. It was ugly. No doubt about it. Speaking of ugly, let's just address this. When does lame-ass Atlanta Dream fix the lighting and change the court color?
Because while Angel Reese is suddenly being questioned, Caitlin Clark is still the name pulling the attention, the ratings, the crowds, and the pressure. And that is where this gets uncomfortable. Because this is no longer just about whether Angel Reese is popular. She is popular. It is no longer just about whether she has fans. She does. The real question is much sharper than that. If Angel Reese is still supposed to be one of the top stars in the WNBA, why does it feel like ESPN is already turning the page? And why does that page keep landing on Caitlin Clark? That is the part nobody can ignore anymore.
It's not rocket science to see that since her arrival and the rest of that 2024 class, the WNBA has skyrocketed.
Finally! We have a WNBA player willing to admit that Caitlin Clark is the reason for the elevation of pretend basketball into the mainstream. Finally, we have a WNBA player willing to admit Caitlin Clark is the reason that they are no longer making minimum wage.
Angel Reese entered the league with massive attention. She had the college rivalry. She had the personality. She had the social media following. She had the attitude that made people react, whether they loved her or hated her. And in today's sports world, that matters. Attention is currency. Drama sells. Personality creates clicks. But there is a dangerous line in sports, because being famous is not the same thing as being the best. And that is where the Angel Reese conversation has started to crack, because the media image was moving fast, maybe too fast. Reese was being talked about like a ready-made superstar, a league-changing figure, a player who could sit at the front of the WNBA's new era. But when the games actually started speaking, the story got a lot messier. The rebounding is real, the hustle is real, the effort is real. Nobody can take that away from her, but the offensive problems are also real. The missed layups, the rough finishes, the inefficient shooting nights.
Angel Reese preseason part 2. Let's get it! So many fans in the stands, it's all filled to the brim to see you me-bound! You can really tell she's been in the lab all off-season working on that explosiveness. Look right here, she gets almost 2 inches off the ground. Me-bound! Burn! She's got this nasty trick shot where she hip-fires layups from 2 feet away, like that. Burn! That shot is her bread and butter. Butter, my God! Burn! Her form is cooked. That ball is so far away, it's in another solar system. Maybe she makes it. Nope. Burn! No. Someone tell her there's not an incentive in your contract that pays you more money for missing layups. That's a prey-up. Burn! I wanted to see a baby giraffe try to play Twister. I go to the circus. What is that? Burn!
The moments where she looks powerful on the glass, but uncomfortable when she has to score cleanly through defenders. That is not hate. That is basketball. And that is why this ESPN ranking hit so hard, because for a long time, fans were told one version of the story. Angel Reese was not just a good player, she was a face. She was a star. She was a major part of the WNBA's rise. But when ESPN had to actually rank the players, suddenly the hype did not feel as loud. Suddenly the conversation changed.
The Atlanta Dream ended up besting the Chicago Sky. And I want to talk about Angel Reese's performance. Overall, in the box score, it looks like she did pretty good. 8.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. But she went 2 for 7 field goal percentage, shooting 28% from the field and 4 of 8 from the free throw, 50% on free throws. All right. Angel Reese is still doing Angel Reese things as she missed wide open shots, things that she should have made, she didn't make.
And that is humiliating, not because Angel Reese has no value, she clearly does, but because the gap between the media push and the basketball reality became impossible to hide. If someone is truly the face of the league, you do not need to keep reminding everyone every 5 minutes. The audience feels it, the arena feels it, the ratings feel it, the league feels it. And that is exactly why Caitlin Clark makes this entire thing so uncomfortable. Because Caitlin Clark does not need the same level of explanation. Her impact announces itself. When she plays, people watch. When she struggles, people debate it. When she gets fouled, the internet explodes. When she hits a deep 3, it becomes a moment. When she walks into an arena, the energy changes. That is not normal attention. That is gravity. And that is the difference. Angel Reese has fame. Caitlin Clark has gravity. Fame gets people talking for a moment. Gravity pulls the whole league into the conversation. And right now, Caitlin Clark is the player doing that. That does not mean every other player is irrelevant. That does not mean the WNBA should only promote one person. That does not mean Angel Reese cannot grow into a stronger player. But it does mean the league hierarchy is not as complicated as some people want it to be. Caitlin Clark is the one moving the needle. She is the one turning ordinary games into national conversations. She is the one making casual fans care about matchups they never would have watched before. And that is why ESPN's shift feels bigger than just a ranking. It feels like a correction, a quiet admission that the original narrative may have gone too far. Because there is a difference between wanting Angel Reese to be a top star and actually proving that she is one right now. That is the uncomfortable part. Reese can rebound, she can bring energy, she can talk, she can create emotion. But when fans are watching the games, they are also seeing the flaws. They are seeing the offensive limitations. They are seeing the difference between a high-profile player and a player who bends the entire league around her presence. And once fans see that difference, it becomes very hard to sell them a different version of reality. That is why this moment matters. It is not just Angel Reese being criticized. It is Angel Reese being redefined. And sometimes that is even more painful, because when a player is attacked, fans can rally around them. But when a player is redefined, the whole conversation changes. Suddenly, Reese is not being judged as the face of the league. She is being judged as a player who still has major things to prove. That is a very different spotlight, and honestly, it might be exactly what she needs. Because the worst thing that can happen to a young player is being crowned too early. When the praise comes before the complete game, every mistake becomes louder. Every bad shooting night becomes evidence. Every ranking becomes a referendum. Every Caitlin Clark comparison becomes impossible to escape. And that is where Reese is now. She is not just battling opponents. She is battling the expectations that were built around her. But here is the fair part. Angel Reese is not finished, not even close. She can still improve. She can still become a better scorer. She can still sharpen her finishing. She can still turn the criticism into fuel. And if she does that, this ESPN moment might one day look like the turning point that forced her to level up. But right now, the reality is clear. The WNBA is moving into a new era, and Caitlin Clark is the center of that storm. Not because people were told to care, because they actually care. That is the difference. The attention around Clark feels organic. It feels loud because the audience made it loud. It feels unavoidable because every game gives people something to argue about. And when one player creates that much energy, the league has to adjust. ESPN has to adjust. The media has to adjust. Even the fans who do not like it have to adjust. That is what this ranking exposed. It exposed the gap between hype and gravity. Angel Reese still has a place in the WNBA story, but Caitlin Clark is the player pulling the league forward right now, and the longer people pretend that is still up for debate, the more obvious the truth becomes, because ESPN did not just rank players, they revealed where the conversation is heading. And right now, that conversation is moving away from forced narratives and toward what fans can see with their own eyes. Angel Reese is still famous. She is still marketable. She is still a name people react to. But Caitlin Clark is different. She is the draw. She is the pressure point. She is the player everyone keeps circling back to. And that is why this moment feels so brutal for Angel Reese. Because ESPN did not have to say she was no longer a top WNBA star. The ranking said enough, the reaction said enough, and the Caitlin Clark comparison made the rest impossible to ignore. If you're still watching, drop Clark Effect in the comments.
Angel Reese, preseason basketball, we're back, baby. 3 ball, you want some? Come get some. Bang! I heard she got traded for a used jockstrap and a dirty diaper. New team, same layup package. Bang! How about the my balls? You know what they say? Free throws ain't free. How about it? Bang! They say second time's a charm. Bang! No, it's not. How about the third time? Bang!
Angel Reese came back to Chicago for one reason, to prove they made a mistake. Instead, it turned into something much worse, because this wasn't just a bad game. This was a statement game that completely backfired.
Oh no, folks. It seems as if Chicago didn't really want to spend $12 to watch this preseason game in person. They didn't want to see the epic return of their number one star that got traded away coming back. I mean, these tickets were going for $7-8, $6.50 in some places.
Angel Reese versus the Chicago Sky. Her old team, her old fans, her old locker room. This was supposed to be the moment she took over. The moment she proved Atlanta was the better situation. The moment she showed Chicago they chose the wrong player. But that's not what happened. She shot 29%. Let me say that again. 29%. That's not a couple shots didn't fall. That's missing more than 2 out of every 3 attempts. And when your entire game is built at the rim, you have nowhere to hide.
Watch this. Uh-oh, now look, it's our time. Listen, when Caitlin had her preseason game, y'all wanted to come put stuff in our face and clown us. Well, guess what? Now it's time for y'all to get the same treatment. So tell me why in Angel's first preseason game, and it went exactly how I told y'all it would, she shot 28% in the paint. 0% from the three-point line. Every 3 she threw up there, clank. And then from the free throws, she made 4 out of 8. She had 8 free throws. They was free. And she only made half of them. Pathetic.
But the stat line wasn't even the worst part, because one play changed everything. Angel Reese drives, goes up for the layup. and Camila Cardoso sends it into another dimension. Clean, violent, perfect timing, and within minutes. That clip was everywhere because it wasn't just a block, it was a message. The player Chicago chose just rejected the player they traded in front of the same fans who used to cheer her name.
Decides to let her ego get in the way. That's where she's going to be dangerous and destroy the team. And I'm being honest here because honestly, she's literally the same player from last year. She's the same player from the year before. She didn't really change that much, man. She's the same exact player, okay? As long as she can score 0 to 5 feet and don't miss layups, she will be fine. But I don't think it's the game on the court is the issue. The issue is, will she be willing to accept a role player position? If she accepts it, she will be fine. If she don't, there's going to be huge problems. This is going to be called Atlanta nightmare afterwards. I'm telling you, that's what it is. It's going to come down to that. Is she willing to accept her role? Because I said this before and I got hated for it, but I don't give a damn.
That's not just basketball, that's narrative. And once that moment hit social media, the entire story flipped. Because now it wasn't about Reese proving Chicago wrong. It was about Chicago proving they were right. And it gets worse, because Chicago wasn't even at full strength. No Skylar Diggins-Smith, no DeJohnai Carrington, no Azura Stevens. This wasn't the full Chicago roster. This was a watered-down version, and Reese still couldn't take over. She only played around 13 minutes. 13. That's not load management. That's a player getting taken out of the game. And now the revenge narrative, completely gone. Because revenge games don't look like this. Revenge games are loud. They're dominant. They're undeniable. This looked like someone who couldn't impose themselves on the game, and the internet noticed immediately. Missed layups, broken finishes, low-light clips getting stacked before the game even ended. And when your game is built on physicality, and the finishing breaks down, there is no backup plan, no jumper to fall back on, no playmaking to lean on, no spacing to create easier looks, just more missed attempts, and more clips going viral.
5, the fourth one will go in. Flick that wrist, spin that ball, wiggity, wiggity, bang! Oh yeah, favorite possession right here, jam! Nah, not ready, hands a little slippery. Had too much popcorn with butter. Butter pecan!
How many times I gotta tell you, only 3 things in life are certain. Death, taxes, and Angel Reese smoking lamps, baby! Give me all that! Burn!
But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. This didn't start in this game. This has been building for 2 years. Because while Reese was talking about a fresh start, Chicago was already moving on. The second she was gone, everything changed. Skylar Diggins-Smith signed, DeJohnai Carrington signed, Azura Stevens signed, Rickea Jackson joined the roster. That's not random. That's not coincidence. That's a franchise resetting its identity. And then came the coldest move of all. Chicago gave her number away, just like that. No hesitation, no ceremony, and no wait and see. That tells you everything, because teams don't move like that unless they are completely done. And now, fast forward to this game, the return, the revenge, the statement opportunity, and instead, she gets blocked, shoots 29%, plays 13 minutes, and walks into a completely different narrative. And if that wasn't enough, she skipped pre-game media. Empty chair before the game even started.
Not good. The Barbie, Angel Reese, the lean, mean rebound machine, the queen of me-bounds, is letting it be known she will not be playing nice with any Atlanta media. The Atlanta Dream media is already being shunned away by Angel Reese, as she lets it be known, I'm not dealing with none of y'all. I don't want to deal with none of this. I think this is a bad look already. This is a bad look. The Atlanta media has not done anything to Angel Reese at this point in time. You got a big star, in her own right. You have a star coming to town, and for the media to basically her to say they're not going to have any access to her.
Think about that. First game back. all eyes on you, and you're not there. That doesn't look like confidence. That looks like someone who already knows this might go wrong. And when it did go wrong, there was no way to control the story, because once the game starts, the tape tells the truth. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because there's another player from that same draft class, same timeline, same opportunity window, Caitlin Clark. And the gap is getting wider. Clark shows up after bad games, answers questions, takes accountability, builds trust, builds a team, builds a system that actually wins. And the results speak for themselves. Playoff appearance, stronger roster, free agents wanting to join, real momentum. While Reese, new team, same questions, same weaknesses, same narrative. And that's why this game mattered so much, because this was her chance to flip it, her chance to prove everything was different now. Instead, it confirmed everything people were already saying, that when the spotlight hits, the results don't match the noise. And that's why that one block went viral, because it wasn't just a play, it was the entire story in one moment. Chicago chose Cardoso, Chicago moved on from Reese, and in 1 second, that decision got validated on live TV. So now the real question is simple. Was this just a bad game, or is this exactly who Angel Reese is right now as a player? And more importantly, how much longer does Atlanta keep betting on this version?